So taking this top off wasn't that hard. I think there's about, let's see, there's 4 bolts that go in here, and then there's 4 that go in your throttle top, and then the battery shut off and fuel top. So there's that. And then also I took that off to get the fuel tank bar separated. And you ask, why did you do all this stuff? Well, the other day I kept smelling fuel in my garage. I'm like, what is that? What is that? And so I smelled under the seat right here. I'm like, gosh, this thing's leaking. So I pumped the gas out of it, and I was like, I'm gonna take it out, make sure the tank's not leaking. I topped it off with fuel again, and I don't see gas anywhere or smell it. So I'm thinking what happened, because if you look at these gauges, I got that on there pretty tight, they don't really have a rubber gasket on here. So I'm wondering, the other day when I was excavating, I may not have had this on tight enough, and it might have been spilling fuel, because this does come with it's like a rubber insulation thing on here to keep the fuel tank from rubbing against that bracket. But it seems okay, it's not leaking. So I did all that work just to get the fuel tank out. That's why I did that. So if you ever had to do that or take the motor out, that's what you would do. You need to take this top off, which is pretty simple. Like I said, this is about, I think about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, another 8 bolts. So you're looking at 10 bolts and the top comes off. I left most of the connections on because it was just easier that way. But even taking a lot of these connections off would be a piece of cake. Just the ignition switch, and then the throttle switch, throttle cable and choke. And then over here is just your battery cable, and I think another plug right here. But anyway, so it gives you real good access to the motor if you have to take that out of there. So putting this back together, what I'm gonna do is just drain that fuel tank, because it's a lot easier to work with an empty fuel tank. Put it back in there, put it back together. So I recommend, make sure you have this cap down tight when you top it off, because these machines do kind of like jerk around as you're driving, and that's what I'm thinking would happen. The fuel was just spilling out. I don't know. So I'm glad it wasn't. I'm glad I didn't have to get a new fuel tank. That was good. But yeah, anyway, these things aren't that hard to work on. So anybody that owns one, hope this helps. If you ever have to take your fuel tank out, it's pretty simple. Like I said, I took the seat off too, because the seat's pretty heavy, so it's a lot easier to move this bracket around without the seat on there. And that just came off with these, they're like full 4 Allen screws to the hinge here, which is pretty easy to get out. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put it back together. Hope this helps. Bye-bye.